I stood in my childhood home, staring at the decorations I had put up myself for my college graduation party. My phone buzzed with excited texts from friends confirming they were coming. My mother walked in with red eyes and told me we needed to cancel everything. My younger sister Bailey just got rejected from her dream college for the third time, and seeing me celebrate would devastate her. My father nodded silently behind my mother. I felt my stomach drop as 22 years of being second place crashed over me again. Growing up in suburban Connecticut, I was always the responsible one. The one who did not need attention. The one who could handle anything. My name is Archer, and for as long as I can remember, my life revolved around my sister Bailey's feelings. Bailey is 3 years younger than me. From the time she was small, she struggled. Academically, she could not keep up with her classmates. Socially, she had trouble making friends. My parents poured everything into helping her, supporting her, protecting her from anything that might hurt her fragile self-esteem. I remember my high school graduation like it was yesterday. I was valedictorian, captain of the debate team, headed to UC Berkeley on a full scholarship. The ceremony was on a sunny June afternoon. I scanned the audience for my parents during my speech. They were not there. Bailey had a panic attack that morning about starting high school in the fall, and they took her to an emergency therapy session instead. I gave my speech to an audience that included my grandmother Rose, my teachers, and an empty space where my parents should have been. My 16th birthday was supposed to be special. I had planned a small party with 10 friends. We were going to play video games, eat pizza, just be normal teenagers. 3 days before the party, my mother sat me down in the kitchen. Bailey, who was about to turn 13, was having severe anxiety about her own upcoming birthday. Seeing me celebrate would trigger her. Could we please cancel? Just this once? I said yes. I always said yes. When I got accepted to Berkeley with a full scholarship, I thought things would be different. I was 17, ready to start my life, ready to finally step out of Bailey's shadow. My parents sat me down in the living room. They looked worried. Bailey was struggling with the idea of me leaving. She had failed her junior year of high school twice already. She needed stability. She needed me to be around. Could I defer for just 1 year? I deferred. I spent a year working at a coffee shop in town, watching Bailey fail her classes again, watching my parents tiptoe around her moods, watching my own life sit on pause. When I finally left for Berkeley at 19, 3 years older than most freshmen, I felt like I could finally breathe. Berkeley was everything. I double majored in computer science and economics. I made real friends who saw me, who valued me. I graduated summa cum laude 4 years later. I got accepted to Stanford's graduate program with full funding, plus a stipend. I was 22 years old, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had actually accomplished something that belonged to me. I came home to Connecticut to celebrate before starting at Stanford in the fall. I wanted to share my joy with my family. I wanted them to be proud. I should have known better. That afternoon in the living room, I tried to reason with them. My mother twisted a tissue in her hands. Bailey is so fragile right now. She just needs us to be sensitive. This is a hard time for her. My father, who rarely spoke during family conflicts, added his voice. You have always been the strong one. You can handle disappointment. Bailey cannot. I mentioned that I had already invited 40 people. I had ordered catering. I had rented tables and chairs. Everything was set for tomorrow afternoon. My mother's response was immediate. We will reimburse you. Just tell everyone you got food poisoning or something. Make up an excuse. I looked at both of them, these people who raised me, and saw nothing but their concern for Bailey. Not a trace of consideration for me. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Bailey appeared at the top, and for just a moment before she saw me looking, I caught a smirk on her face. Then it vanished, replaced by a sad, wounded expression. She wrapped her arms around herself and looked down at us with teary eyes. Something clicked in my brain, something I had never allowed myself to see before. Bailey was manipulating them. She had been doing it our entire lives. I went upstairs to my childhood bedroom to think. The door was closed, but when I opened it, Bailey was already inside, sitting on my bed. She was wearing my Berkeley hoodie, the one I had searched for all week, the one I thought I had lost. She looked up at me with that same false sadness. "You always get everything," she said. "Just this once, let me have the attention. Besides, you are going to Stanford. You will have plenty of parties there. I have nothing." The hoodie was stretched out, ruined. She had been wearing it multiple times without asking. I looked around my room with new eyes. Things were not where I had left them. My drawers had been opened. My closet door was slightly ajar. I walked to the closet and pushed aside the hanging clothes. In the back, shoved behind old shoes, was my high school varsity jacket. The one I had assumed was lost in a move. It had makeup stains on the collar. Bailey's makeup. She had been in my room, using my things, invading my space, for years. Every time I came home from Berkeley, she had gone through my belongings like they were hers. I turned to face her. She stood up from my bed, suddenly nervous. "Get out," I said quietly. She left without another word. I did not argue. I did not yell. I did not try to change their minds. I pulled out my phone and opened my messages. I sent a group text to all 40 people I had invited. Party still on. New location. My apartment in Berkeley. Tomorrow night. Flight leaves in 3 hours. Then I opened a travel app and booked a one-way flight while standing in the doorway of my bedroom. My parents appeared in the hallway, confused by the sound of my footsteps as I moved around gathering my things. "What are you doing?" my mother asked. "Leaving." Her face crumpled. "You are being selfish. This is so typical of you." My father stepped forward. "If you leave now, do not expect us at your Stanford orientation." I stopped packing and looked at him directly. "You were not planning to come anyway. Bailey has her community college orientation the same week." My mother gasped. "How did you know that?" "Because I actually listen when you talk. You just never talk about me." The truth hung in the air between us. My mother started crying. My father looked away. I finished packing only what I had brought with me for this visit. Everything from my childhood, all my old belongings, I left behind. They belonged to a version of me that no longer existed. I carried my suitcase downstairs and out to my rental car. Bailey followed me onto the front lawn, her panic now real instead of performed. "Wait," she said, grabbing my arm. "I did not mean for you to actually leave. Come on, Archer. Do not be dramatic." I pulled my arm free and opened the car trunk. "You wanted attention. You got it. Now you can have all of theirs, all the time, forever." As I loaded my suitcase, neighbors started coming out of their houses. Mrs. Patterson from next door walked across her lawn carrying a wrapped gift and a container of homemade cookies. She had known me since I was 5 years old. "Archer, honey, what is going on? I thought your party was tomorrow." My mother rushed out of the house, putting on a composed face. She walked over to Mrs. Patterson before I could answer. "Archer has decided to go back to California early," my mother said, her voice tight. "He chose to cancel the party himself. We are very disappointed." Mrs. Patterson looked confused but handed me the gift anyway. "Well, congratulations on Stanford, dear. We are all so proud of you." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. That means more than you know." I got in the car. In the rearview mirror, I saw my mother comforting Bailey on the front lawn, stroking her hair, while Bailey cried into her shoulder. My father stood in the doorway of the house, arms crossed, watching me leave. He did not wave. He did not move. I drove away from that house and did not look back. I made it to the highway before my phone rang. I almost did not answer when I saw the name. Grandmother Rose. She was the only family member who had ever consistently shown up for me. She came to my high school graduation when my parents did not. She sent care packages to Berkeley. She called every week just to hear about my life. I pulled over to the shoulder and answered. "Archer?" Her voice was thick with tears. "What did you do?" "Grandma, what are you talking about?" "Your mother called me. She said you abandoned the family during a crisis. She said you want nothing to do with any of us. She told me not to contact you anymore. I gripped the steering wheel, shaking with rage. That is not what happened. Through tears, I told her everything. The canceled party, Bailey in my room, the years of being invisible, the decision to leave. When I finished, there was silence on the line. Then my grandmother spoke, her voice hard in a way I had never heard before. I believe you, and I am going to make some calls. Grandma, you do not have to get involved. Yes, I do. I should have done it years ago. We talked for another 20 minutes. She made me promise to text her when I landed in Berkeley. She told me she loved me. She told me I did the right thing. When we hung up, I sat in my car on the side of the highway and cried for the first time in years. I made it to Berkeley emotionally exhausted but determined. My roommate Marcus met me at the door of our apartment with a bear hug that nearly knocked me over. We are doing this, he said. Your party is happening, and it is going to be perfect. My girlfriend Diana showed up an hour later with decorations and a determination that matched Marcus's. She kissed me and whispered, "You deserve to celebrate. Let us give you that." They transformed our small apartment into something magical. String lights, a playlist of my favorite songs, tables of food that my friends had all contributed to. By 7 o'clock the next evening, 43 people filled our space. 3 extra people had heard about the party and asked if they could come. The party was everything my family's version would not have been. It was genuine. People showed up because they wanted to celebrate me, not because they felt obligated. They told stories about classes we had taken together, late-night study sessions, moments when I had helped them through difficult times. My favorite professor, Dr. Helen Shaw, arrived carrying a leather portfolio. She pulled me aside into the kitchen. "Archer, I wanted to give you this in person." She handed me the portfolio. Inside were 5 letters of recommendation she had written to major tech companies on my behalf. Each one was personalized, detailed, glowing. "I start teaching at MIT next semester, but I wanted to make sure you had every advantage before I left." I did not know what to say. "Thank you" seemed too small. She smiled. "You were the best student I have had in 20 years. Go show the world what you can do." My research partner, Jordan, gave a toast in the living room. She stood on a chair so everyone could see her and raised her glass. "To Archer," she said, "who tutored me for free for 2 years when I was failing computational theory, who never made me feel stupid, who believed I could do it even when I did not. You saved my academic career, and you did not even know it." 3 other people added their own stories. Marcus talked about the time I lent him money for rent, when his financial aid got delayed. Diana talked about how I stayed up with her for 3 nights straight when her mother was in the hospital, making sure she ate and slept and did not fall apart. A guy named Eric from my organic chemistry class talked about how I started a free tutoring group that helped 15 students pass a class that had a 40% fail rate. I stood there listening to these stories and realized something profound. I had built a family without even knowing it. These people saw me. They valued me. They celebrated me. After everyone left around 2 in the morning, Diana, Marcus, and Jordan stayed to help clean up. We sat on the floor of the living room surrounded by empty cups and crumpled napkins, and I told them everything about my childhood. Jordan was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then she shared her own story. Her parents disowned her when she came out as gay 5 years ago. She had not spoken to them since. "You cannot fix people who do not want to see you," she said. "But you can build a life so bright, they cannot help but see it from far away." Those words planted a seed in my mind. A life so bright they cannot help but see it. At 2:30 in the morning, my phone chimed with an email notification. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was from Stanford's department chair, Professor Raymond Chen. The subject line read, "Urgent investigation required." My hands went cold as I read it. Someone had sent Stanford a detailed complaint about me. The anonymous email claimed I had fabricated research data, plagiarized my thesis, and cheated my way through Berkeley. It included attached files as evidence. The department chair was required to investigate any such claims. My acceptance to Stanford was now under review. I had 2 weeks to prove my innocence or I would lose everything. I opened the attached files with shaking hands. They were documents that looked like my research notes, but they had been altered. Data changed. Dates modified. Sections copied from other sources and attributed to me. It was sophisticated enough to seem real at first glance. But I knew my own work. This was falsified. I checked the metadata on the files. They had been created on a computer at a public library in Connecticut, in my hometown, yesterday. The same day I left, Marcus leaned over my shoulder and read the email. His face went pale. Who would do this? But I already knew. I did not panic. Panic would not help. Instead, I got methodical. At 8 o'clock that morning, I emailed Dr. Shaw and explained the situation. She called me within 10 minutes, her voice shaking with rage. This is outrageous. I am coming over. She arrived at my apartment an hour later, with 2 other Berkeley professors and a plan. We spent the entire day compiling evidence. 4 years of research notes with timestamps. Lab logs signed by supervisors. Email chains discussing my thesis development. Security footage from the library, where I had worked showing me at my carrel for hundreds of hours. My thesis advisor, Professor Thomas Wright, wrote a 6-page letter defending my work. He included documentation of every meeting we had, every draft I submitted, every revision cycle. He ended the letter with, "In 30 years of academia, I have never worked with a more honest or dedicated student. These accusations are not just false, they are absurd." While the professors worked on documentation, Marcus made a phone call to his cousin who worked at the public library in my hometown. By some stroke of luck, the library kept security footage for 30 days. His cousin agreed to pull the footage from the day the files were created. 2 hours later, Marcus and I sat at my laptop, watching grainy security footage. At 3:27 in the afternoon, a person in sunglasses and a baseball cap sat down at guest computer number 7. The person kept their head down, but when they reached up to adjust the cap, I saw her face clearly. Bailey. She sat at that computer for 42 minutes. When she left, she looked directly at the camera for just a moment, and I saw something in her expression that made my blood run cold. Satisfaction. I had the evidence I needed, but I wanted to hear her admit it. I called my parents' house. Bailey answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello?" Her voice was uncertain. "I know it was you." Silence. "I do not know what you are talking about." "The library has cameras, Bailey. I have footage. You tried to destroy my future." Her breath caught. Then she started crying. "You humiliated me. You left and made Mom and Dad look like terrible parents to all the neighbors. Mrs. Patterson told everyone what really happened. People are judging us because of you. So you tried to ruin my life? You already have everything. I just wanted things to be fair for once." Before I could respond, I heard a scuffle. My mother's voice came on the line. "What did you do to your sister?" "She is hysterical." I explained about Stanford, about the false accusations, about the library footage, about the evidence showing Bailey had created fake documents to destroy my graduate school acceptance. There was a long pause. Then my mother said something I will never forget. "Maybe you should just let Stanford go. Take a year off. Let things settle down. Bailey needs stability right now." I hung up without another word. I sent everything to Stanford that afternoon. The footage, the metadata analysis, the documentation from my professors, a detailed timeline. I also sent it to Grandmother Rose, with a full explanation of what Bailey had done. Stanford's investigation team cleared me within 48 hours. Professor Chen called me personally. "Mr. Hayes, I owe you an apology. These accusations should never have been taken seriously, but protocol required investigation. I want you to know that your handling of this situation with such grace and thoroughness has only reinforced our decision to admit you. This kind of resilience and integrity is exactly what Stanford values." I thanked him, and hung up feeling lighter than I had in days. Then Grandmother Rose called. "Archer, I need to tell you something. I have been making some calls, doing some digging. There are things you do not know." "What things?" She told me that she had contacted some of my old teachers and friends from high school. She had asked careful questions, and she had uncovered a pattern. During my junior year of high school, my girlfriend Emma broke up with me suddenly. She said I had been sending her cruel messages from a fake social media account. I tried to tell her it was not me, but she would not listen. I never knew who created that account. It was Bailey. During my freshman year at Berkeley, I almost got expelled. Someone sent the dean's office an anonymous email claiming I had hacked into the school's grade database. It took weeks to prove I had not. I never found out who sent that email. It was Bailey. When I worked at the coffee shop during my gap year, my boss almost fired me. Someone called and claimed I had stolen money from the register. Security footage proved I had not, but I nearly lost my job. It was Bailey. Grandmother Rose had found evidence of all of it. Bailey had been sabotaging me for years, in ways I never connected because I never imagined my own sister would do such things. "And there is one more thing," Rose said. "You know the house your parents live in? The one I grew up in? It is in my name. I bought it 40 years ago and let your parents live there rent-free after your grandfather died. I have been supporting them financially for 23 years. I did not know that. I gave them an ultimatum yesterday. Family therapy. All 4 of you. A real therapist who specializes in family dysfunction. Or I sell the house." "What did they say?" "They said you are the problem." "They refused." Rose's voice hardened. "I started eviction proceedings this morning. They have 6 months to find a new place." Summer ended in a blur of preparation. In August, I moved to Stanford and threw myself into my graduate program with an intensity I had never felt before. Every ounce of pain, every moment of being overlooked, every instance of being told I was not as important as Bailey's feelings. I poured all of it into my work. My research focused on artificial intelligence applications for detecting financial fraud. Traditional methods relied on looking for known patterns. My algorithm was different. It used machine learning to identify anomalies that did not fit any existing template. It could catch fraud that no one was specifically looking for. By October, just 2 months into the program, I had developed a working prototype. My supervising professor, Dr. Amanda Foster, was impressed enough to enter my work in a national technology competition sponsored by 3 major tech companies. In early November, I got the call. I had won first place. The prize was $50,000 in meetings with venture capital firms interested in developing the technology. One of those firms was Clearview Capital, based in San Francisco. Their managing partner, a woman named Susan Ortiz, flew down to meet with me personally. She sat across from me, in a Stanford conference room, and asked me one question. "Do you want to change the world? Or do you want to write papers about changing the world?" "I want to change the world," she smiled. "Then let us build a company." Within 2 weeks, I had partnered with 2 other Stanford students, Caleb, a business graduate student with a background in finance, and Nina, a computer science doctoral candidate who specialized in data security. The 3 of us formed a company called Sentinel Solutions. Susan's firm gave us seed funding. We rented a small office in Palo Alto. We worked 18-hour days building out the algorithm, creating a user interface, developing security protocols. By December, we had our first client. A mid-sized bank in San Francisco agreed to a trial run of our system. They wanted to see if we could catch anything their traditional fraud detection missed. We found something in the first week. A loan officer had been approving fraudulent mortgages for 3 years, taking kickbacks from a real estate scheme. The amounts were small enough to slip past normal audits, spread across enough transactions to avoid pattern detection. But our algorithm caught the anomaly in the loan officer's approval rate compared to their peers. The bank's internal investigation confirmed everything. They had been losing $12 million over 3 years without knowing it. Our algorithm saved them from continuing losses and helped them recover most of the stolen money. The bank's CEO was so impressed he became our primary investor. By March, Sentinel Solutions had 15 employees and 7 clients. My personal life found stability too. Diana visited me once a month from Berkeley. She was finishing her final year, applying to jobs in the Bay Area, so we could be together after graduation. We talked every night. She was my anchor. Grandmother Rose called me every Sunday without fail. She told me about her week, asked about mine, and gave me updates I did not ask for but secretly wanted. My parents had moved to a small apartment outside of town. Both of them were working now. My father at an insurance company, my mother at a department store. Bailey was living with them, attending community college part-time, and working at a coffee shop. Rose had also told me everything she had discovered about Bailey's sabotage over the years. The fake social media account, the false accusations. All of it. "I am sorry I did not see it sooner," she said. "I knew Bailey was troubled, but I did not realize the extent of her cruelty. It is not your fault, Grandma. I should have protected you better. You protected me the only way that mattered. You saw me. You showed up. That is more than enough." In April, something bigger happened. A massive fraud case hit national news. The chief financial officer of a Fortune 500 company had embezzled $80 million over 5 years through a complex scheme involving shell companies and falsified invoices. Federal investigators were struggling to trace all the money. The FBI contacted us. They had heard about our algorithm from the San Francisco bank. Could we help? We could. We gave them access to our system. Within 3 days, our algorithm had traced $73 million through 17 different accounts. The FBI arrested the CFO and 4 accomplices. They recovered most of the funds. The story became huge. National news coverage, articles in financial publications, technology blogs analyzing our algorithm. Then a reporter from CNN called. Her name was Jessica Brennan, and she wanted to do a feature story about the 22-year-old Stanford graduate student who had revolutionized fraud detection. I almost said no. I did not want the attention. But Caleb and Nina convinced me. "This is not about you," Nina said. "This is about what we built. This is about showing the world that young people can solve real problems." I agreed to the interview. During the pre-interview prep session, Jessica asked about my background, where I came from, what inspired me to focus on fraud detection. I told her about growing up in a small Connecticut town, about my grandmother Rose, who taught me about justice and doing the right thing even when it was hard. Jessica loved the human interest angle. She scheduled the interview for a Sunday evening in June, primetime viewing. She told me it would be a 12-minute segment during their technology and innovation hour. I did not tell my parents, but I did tell Grandmother Rose. She was delighted. "I am hosting a viewing party," she said. "I already told Mrs. Patterson. Grandma, you do not have to do that. Oh, honey, this whole neighborhood is going to watch. You are famous now. We are all so proud." Sunday evening arrived. I gathered with Diana, Marcus, who had driven down from Berkeley, Caleb, and Nina, in my apartment to watch the broadcast together. We ordered pizza and tried to treat it casually, but I was nervous in a way I had not expected. The segment began at 7:32, right after a commercial break. Jessica's voice narrated over footage of Stanford's campus. In the fight against financial fraud, a new weapon has emerged from an unexpected source. A 22-year-old graduate student who saw patterns no one else could see. The segment showed me in the lab at Stanford, explaining how the algorithm worked. I watched myself on screen and barely recognized the confident, articulate person talking about machine learning and anomaly detection. Then came testimonials. An FBI agent talking about the $80 million case. The CEO of the San Francisco bank describing how we saved them $12 million. Professor Chen from Stanford. Archer represents everything we hope to cultivate at Stanford. Brilliance, integrity, and compassion. They showed my apartment, simple and cluttered with whiteboards covered in equations. They showed me working late at night, completely absorbed in code. Then Jessica asked the question I had been dreading. Tell me about your family. Where does this drive come from? I had prepared for this. I had practiced my answer. But sitting in that interview, I decided to tell the truth. I am grateful to my grandmother, who taught me that real strength is standing up for what is right, even when the people you love cannot see it. She has been my rock. The camera showed a photo of young me with grandmother Rose at my high school graduation, just the two of us. Growing up, I learned that sometimes the people who are supposed to celebrate you cannot, because they are trapped in their own patterns. That taught me to celebrate others, to lift people up, to build a family of choice based on mutual respect. My voice cracked slightly, genuinely emotional. My grandmother is 81 years old. She is the strongest person I know. This is for her. The segment ended with footage of our team at Sentinel Solutions, laughing and working together. Jessica's closing line. Sometimes the greatest innovations come not from those who had everything, but from those who had to build everything themselves. In my apartment, my friends erupted in cheers. Diana kissed me. Marcus slapped my back so hard I nearly fell over. But I was thinking about Connecticut, about my parents and Bailey, sitting in their small apartment, watching that broadcast. I was right to think about them. Later that night, Grandmother Rose called me. Her voice was shaking with laughter and something else. Pride, maybe, or vindication. Archer, you should have seen it. I hosted a viewing party. 15 families from the neighborhood came. We watched together in my living room. How was it? Perfect. Beautiful. You were magnificent. But honey, you need to know what happened after. She told me that the second the broadcast ended, phones started ringing all over the neighborhood. Old family friends who had moved away. Relatives from other states. Everyone calling and texting my parents. Did you see Archer on CNN? You must be so proud. Why did not you tell us he was doing such important work? Mrs. Patterson told me, your mother got 17 calls in the first hour, Rose said. She stopped answering after the 10th one. My parents had watched from their apartment. According to a neighbor who talked to Rose, my mother started crying halfway through. My father sat in complete silence. Bailey left the room and did not come back. The next morning, I got a voicemail from my mother. I did not listen to it. I deleted it without playing it. But Grandmother Rose told me what happened. My mother had called her, sobbing. We made a terrible mistake. Yes, you did. For 22 years. Can you give us his number? We need to talk to him. No. If Archer wants to talk to you, he will reach out. You do not get to demand his attention anymore. My father had tried calling my old phone number. It had been disconnected for months. They tried emailing. The email bounced back. I had changed everything when I moved to Stanford. I had not done it to punish them. I had done it to protect myself, to create space to heal. But now, they could not reach me, even if they wanted to. That same Monday morning, I got a call from the Stanford dean's office. I answered nervously, worried something was wrong. Mr. Hayes, this is Dean Patricia Morrison. I am calling with extraordinary news. She told me that a major technology company had watched the CNN interview. They were impressed not just with the algorithm, but with me, with the team we had built, with our mission. They wanted to acquire Sentinel Solutions for $18 million. My share, as co-founder and lead developer, would be $7 million. I sat down hard on my bed, unable to speak. There is more, Dean Morrison continued. The acquisition includes positions for all 3 founders. They want you as their Chief Innovation Officer. The salary is $300,000 annually, plus equity, and they will allow you to continue your graduate studies part-time. I managed to say yes, to say thank you, to somehow end the call without passing out. Then I called Caleb and Nina. We screamed together over the phone like children. But the dean called back an hour later with one more piece of news. The company wants to make an additional gesture. They are donating $1 million to Stanford, in your name, to establish a scholarship fund for students from difficult family backgrounds. They want you to help design the program and be the public face of it. What does that mean? It means more interviews, Mr. Hayes. More media coverage. A profile in Forbes. Speaking engagements at technology conferences. You are about to become very visible. I accepted everything. Every interview. Every appearance. Every opportunity. I was about to become impossible to ignore. 3 months later, in September, my face appeared on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. The magazine did a full photo shoot. They put me on a billboard in downtown San Francisco, advertising the tech company's innovation division. I gave a keynote speech at a major technology conference in Seattle. The auditorium held 800 people. It was standing room only. Grandmother Rose sat in the front row, wearing her best dress, beaming with pride. Diana had moved to Palo Alto. She got a job at a tech startup and moved into my apartment. We adopted a rescue dog named Circuit. Life was fuller than I ever imagined it could be. But the past was not done with me yet. In late September, I received a letter forwarded through Stanford's mail system. My name and university address were written in my father's handwriting. I almost threw it away. Instead, I opened it. 10 pages. Single-spaced. Handwritten. Archer, it began. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect you to respond to this letter. But I need you to know that I see it now. I see everything. He detailed every moment he could remember when he had failed me. Every time he had chosen the easy path of appeasing Bailey, instead of the hard path of parenting both of us equally. Every instance when he had watched my mother and Bailey hurt me and done nothing. I was a coward, he wrote. I told myself I was keeping the peace. I told myself you were strong enough to handle it. But the truth is, I was just weak. I destroyed our relationship because I was too afraid of conflict. I am ashamed of the father I was. I am ashamed of the man I was. He wrote about watching the CNN interview, about realizing that I had built an entire life, accomplished extraordinary things, become someone remarkable, and he knew nothing about any of it because he had never bothered to really see me. You deserved better, he wrote. You deserved a father who celebrated you, protected you, chose you. I did not do any of that. I cannot undo it. But I need you to know that you were right to leave. You saved yourself. I am sorry we made that necessary. There was a second letter in the envelope. From my mother. Shorter, but equally raw. She had started therapy. Real therapy. With a psychologist who specialized in family dysfunction and codependency. She was beginning to understand how deeply she had failed me. I enabled Bailey's worst traits out of fear and guilt, she wrote. I was so afraid of her pain that I could not see yours. I made you invisible in your own family. I taught you that your needs did not matter. I am horrified by what I did to you. She wrote about the months since I left, about losing the house, about both of them having to work for the first time in years, about Bailey struggling without their constant attention and resources. We are all in therapy now, she wrote. Even Bailey. It is hard. We are facing things we should have faced decades ago. I do not expect you to care about that. I just need you to know that you were right. About everything. And I am sorry. I sat with both letters for a long time. Then I called my therapist and scheduled an emergency session. Dr. Karen Williams had been seeing me since the CNN interview. She helped me process the sudden visibility, the old family wounds, the complex feelings about success. She read both letters in our session. How do you feel? She asked. I do not know. Part of me wants to respond. Part of me wants to burn these and never think about them again. Both reactions are valid. What do you want? I want them to actually change. Not just say they will. I want them to do the work. Then tell them that. I went home and thought for 3 more days. Then I wrote 2 letters. Short. Honest. To my father. Thank you for finally seeing it. I hope you continue therapy. I hope you rebuild your life on honesty. I am not ready for a relationship yet. Maybe someday. But I appreciate you taking accountability. To my mother. I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. I will not carry this anger anymore. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I need space. maybe for years. Focus on getting healthy. Focus on teaching Bailey accountability. That is the best thing you can do for all of us. I mailed both letters through my lawyer, with instructions that any further contact had to go through legal channels, unless I initiated it directly. 2 weeks later, Grandmother Rose called with news. Bailey wanted to apologize. She had asked Rose to set up a phone call. I agreed, but only with Rose on the line as well, on speakerphone. Bailey's voice was small when she started talking. "Archer, I am so sorry for everything I did. I know I was horrible to you." I waited. There was more. "I have been in therapy 3 times a week," she continued. "I am learning about why I did those things. I was jealous. I felt like you had everything, and I had nothing. But that was not true. You worked for everything you have. I just tore you down because I was too insecure to build myself up." "Do you understand what you did?" I asked. "You did not just try to hurt me. You tried to destroy my entire future because you were jealous." She started crying. "I know. I have been horrible my whole life. Mom and Dad let me be horrible because I cried, and they felt sorry for me. But I am not a victim. I was a bully. I bullied my own brother for 20 years. It was the first real accountability I had ever heard from her." "What are you going to do about it?" I asked. "I am in therapy. I am actually trying in school now. I got a job. I am working on myself. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve it. You are right. You do not deserve it yet. But if you actually change, if you actually become a person of integrity, maybe in 5 years we can talk again." "Okay," she whispered. "That is fair." We hung up. Grandmother Rose called me back privately a few minutes later. "I am proud of you," she said. "That was hard, and you handled it with grace. I learned from the best, Grandma." In December, exactly 1 year after I left Connecticut, Stanford held a ceremony to launch the scholarship program funded by the tech company, the Archer Hayes Endowment, for students overcoming family adversity. 20 students received full scholarships in the first year. They sat in the audience at the campus auditorium, along with donors, faculty, and press. I stood at the podium to give a speech. My hands shook as I looked out at all those faces. "I grew up believing that family meant accepting whatever treatment they gave you," I began. "That love meant sacrifice, even when that sacrifice destroyed you. I was wrong." I told them about choosing myself when no one else would, about building a life based on my own values instead of other people's limitations. Real love celebrates your success. Real family lifts you up. And if the family you are born into cannot do that, you build a new one. "I grew up believing that family meant accepting whatever treatment they gave you," I began. "That love meant sacrifice, even when that sacrifice destroyed you. I was wrong." My voice strengthened. "This scholarship is not charity. It is recognition. You earned this by refusing to let your circumstances define you." I shared the most important lesson I had learned. Your success is not selfish. Your happiness is not betrayal. Choosing yourself when no one else will is not abandonment. It is survival. It is strength. It is the beginning of the life you deserve. The audience stood and applauded. I saw Grandmother Rose in the 3rd row crying openly, Diana beside her, Marcus, Caleb, and Nina, Jordan, who had flown in from MIT where she was now teaching, Dr. Shaw, Professor Chen, all the people who had seen me and celebrated me, my chosen family. After the ceremony, we took a photo together. All 7 of us, arms around each other, grinning like fools. I posted it on social media that night, my first personal post in months. The caption read, "Family is not just who you are born to, it is who shows up." Within an hour, it had 10,000 likes. Among them, I noticed 3 names: my mother, my father, Bailey. They did not comment. They were learning. 6 months later, my father sent another letter. Shorter this time. He and my mother had been in therapy for a year. They were separating, not out of anger, but because they realized they had built their entire marriage around managing Bailey instead of actually being partners. They needed to figure out who they were as individuals. Bailey had enrolled in a community college program for social work. She wanted to help teenagers with mental health issues. She was volunteering at a crisis hotline. She wrote me a letter too, which my father included. She did not ask for forgiveness. She just told me what she was doing with her life and said she hoped I was well. I wrote back to both of them. Brief, kind notes. I told my father I was glad he was doing the work. I told Bailey I was glad she found a path that mattered to her. I still was not ready for a relationship with them. Maybe I never would be, but I could wish them well from a distance. People ask me all the time if I regret leaving that day. The day my parents canceled my graduation party for my sister's feelings. I do not regret it for a second. That choice saved my life. It taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who cannot love you properly. It taught me that success is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about building a life that reflects your values, surrounded by people who see you, celebrate you, and challenge you to grow. My parents canceled my graduation party to protect my sister's feelings. So I left and built a life they could not ignore, not for revenge, not for validation, but because I finally understood that I deserved more than crumbs of attention from people who should have given me the whole cake. And here is what I learned. When you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, when you stop apologizing for your success, when you stop waiting for permission to shine, that is when your real life begins. The people who truly love you will find their way back, changed and humble. The people who do not will fade away. Either way, you will be free. And freedom, I have learned, is the greatest success of all. Today, Sentinel Solutions has grown to over 200 employees. We have contracts with federal agencies, major banks, and international corporations. The scholarship fund has expanded to 50 students per year. I finished my graduate degree and stayed on as Chief Innovation Officer. Diana and I got married last spring. Grandmother Rose was my best person at the wedding. She walked me down the aisle in her best purple dress, holding my arm, whispering, "Your grandfather would have loved her." I am 24 years old. I have built a company, changed an industry, and created a family of people who genuinely care about each other. My parents and I exchange letters a few times a year now. Brief updates, kind words. We may never have the relationship I once wanted, but we have something honest, something real. That is enough. Diana and I got married last spring. Grandmother Rose was my best person at the wedding. She walked me down the aisle in her best purple dress, holding my arm, whispering, "Your grandfather would have loved her." I am 24 years old. I have built a company, changed an industry, and created a family of people who genuinely care about each other. She cried harder. Thank you. That means everything. We are not close. We may never be. But she is doing the work. She is becoming someone I can respect. That is more than I ever thought possible. My life is not perfect. I still have hard days. I still struggle with feeling like I have to prove my worth. Therapy helps. Diana helps. My chosen family helps. She cried harder. Thank you. That means everything. Have you ever had to walk away from family to save yourself? Have you ever built a chosen family that saw you better than the family you were born into? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming adversity and building the life you deserve. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to choose themselves. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you are worthy of celebration, you are worthy of being seen, and you are worthy of a life that honors who you truly are. May you find the courage to shine, and may you surround yourself with people who celebrate your light instead of dimming it. Until next time.